Hello and welcome back in to another episode of The Hard Fowl. I'm your host, Pearson Fowler. With me as always from GamecockCentral.com, Collyn Taylor. No shortage of drama as South Carolina beats Georgia 94-90 in overtime. South Carolina's first overtime game of the season. The game is not quite 12 hours old. I just asked you when the game ended officially because I didn't take note of what time it was when the game finally ended. A game with a lot of fouls, obviously a game with a whole extra overtime period. You said the final tweet was sent out at 9:10?
9:10.
And right now, we are recording this at 9:06. So we are inside of the 12-hour window of this game being finished. So this is the most instant reaction pod that we've done. And Collyn, is it true that you, in fact, are just now making your way out of the Colonial Life Arena and came straight to record this podcast?
Yeah, I slept there last night.
Wow. Where'd you sleep?
Slept kind of underneath Frank's table.
Oh, okay.
You build like a little fire and put it in there and sleep.
I guess if you're going to sleep at the CLA, that's probably the best place to do it. So, well done.
I'm joking, but there are actually a few nights that I've debated sleeping at Founders Park.
I believe it.
Yeah, after late.
If there were ever a night to sleep at the Colonial Life Arena,
it's this
because
one.
there were so many things to write about and talk about and think about, it would have been this Carolina-Georgia game.
Thank God this was a 9 p.m. tip. Could you imagine this being a 9 p.m. tip?
Well, it's funny. I had people, I don't remember if I said this on the podcast on Tuesday or if I said this on my local show yesterday. I think on my local show. But I had people tweeting at me like, hey, Pearson, I thought you said that we were going to get to bed early because it's the 6:30 tip. And I was like, I thought we
you
would
hope. You would hope.
I shouldn't have been as wrong as I was. But I guess at the end of the day, if you're a Carolina fan, can't complain too much because they were able to get the win. Now, I can't imagine how grueling this would have been for Carolina fans if they had, in fact, lost this game in overtime. All the fouls, long game, just as many things that happened in this game. So, obviously, we're going to go through the Georgia game. As we do, we're going to talk about Alabama. There's a fascinating update in the net, which if y'all listen to this podcast with any regularity, you should not be surprised, but Collyn and I will get to that a little bit later, and Collyn has also started to do some early bracketology and seeding and things like that, so we'll get into that. But we have to start with the Georgia game, but Collyn, I mean, I know I'm the host, but I don't know where to start with this game. So I'll let you start with just whatever comes to your head first.
Mike Kotsar, man.
Mike Kotsar.
Good.
Very
Had a
good.
really bad first half. And then responded with a double-double and hit maybe the two biggest free throws of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of, Jermaine had a few big ones. He hit 5 of 6 in the overtime period. But hit 2 to go up 2. Mike Kotsar.
Mike Kotsar, 19, 10, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of his 4 free throws, 4 assists, a couple of blocks. He was at the line. I don't remember if it was at the end of regulation or towards the end of overtime. It's all blurring together to me. But at one point during the game, Mike goes to the free throw line. He got fouled. It was late. He had 2 free throws. And again, I wish I could remember the situation. But he goes to the free throw line, and he just got this look on his face like, I'm going to knock these down. And I started to text you, tomorrow on the podcast, we need to put out an official search for the real Mike Kotsar, because I have no idea who this guy is that's been inside of his body all season long. Or he's just not the same guy that we watched the last 3 years. So where is the real Mike Kotsar? And then I didn't send you the text, as you might notice. You never got that text from me, and it's because he missed the second free throw.
Yeah,
it's the only free throw he missed in the game, and I was like, crap, I just jinxed him. I didn't even send the text, but just by typing it out, I jinxed it. But in spite of that, he still hit a couple big free throws after that. 19 points, as I mentioned, 10 rebounds, was just awesome. Continues to be really, really good defensively. At this point, is it fair to say he's a lock for SEC first-team all-defense?
Got to be close.
If you're going to be on the short list of 3 or 4 guys for Defensive Player of the Year, and now some of it's like if it's a bunch of 5s, there's only so much you can do. But I can't imagine, as much as he guards 4s, I would imagine that they will find some way to get him on, even if it's not as a 5, they'll put him in as a 4.
Yeah, I saw this weird thing. Adam Spencer, for Saturday Down South, tweeted out his Player of the Year, current SEC Player of the Year defensive rankings. And honorable mention was Mike Kotsar. Wasn't even in the top 5.
What?
Yeah.
Who were the 5 ahead of him?
Hagens, which I get. I think he has. Frank said that he would debate anybody on if Mike Kotsar was the best defender in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's up there. Ashton Hagens is also.
Sure. I'm not saying he should be Defensive Player of the Year, but I'm saying he absolutely deserves to be.
Mason Jones was 2.
Okay.
John Fulkerson 3. Nick Richards 4. Austin Wiley 5.
I would put Mike ahead of
Fulkerson, at least.
Fulkerson, and
Maybe
honestly, probably Nick
Richardson.
Richards.
Yeah. Let's see, because Mike
Austin Wiley, I imagine, leads the SEC in blocks, so you kind of have to have him in there.
Yeah,
I don't know that for sure, but I imagine
leads
that's true.
stuff in steals. So,
But point is, he was magnificent.
Yeah.
His
seriously, he's sixth in steals.
Sixth in steals.
Sixth in steals as a big.
How far down the list do you have to go to find another big?
So Jimmy Witt's a guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think KJ Buffin's a big, and he's right below him, 2 steals below. But Mike Kotsar is good. He's top 15 in defensive rebound percentage. Third in defensive rating. Third in defensive win shares. And second in defensive box plus minus. Get out of here with your honorable mention.
Yeah, honorable mention.
Get out of here with
that's
that.
ridiculous. But he was great again last night. And the part that's most impressed me, obviously, this season has been not only just the development of his offensive game, but the fearlessness that he's shown and the confidence.
Yeah,
and it's exactly what I was talking about with him going to the free throw line, looking like he wanted to go to the free throw line. And, I mean, seriously, you were there in person, so you probably saw it a little more clearly than I did on TV. But it was a look. And you I don't really know how to describe the look other than when you see the look. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch the game and find those first of the 4 free throws that Mike took, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. He just had this look in his eye, and he is a different guy. And it's a shame that it took him 4 years to get there, but boy, oh boy, has it been fun now that he's finally gotten there.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch because, I mean, Mike was one of the first real guys for me that I got to watch from freshman year on. I mean, I really started covering the team his sophomore year. Was around a little bit that Final Four year, but I find you as media and fans get to watch these guys grow up, and you're around them a little bit, and just to see the confidence he exudes, not just on the court, but when talking to him in interviews, when just in general talking to him if he walks through the building and you're waiting for another interview, when you see him and you say, hey, it's just a different Mike Kotsar than you would have gotten. Last year, Mike would have just blown right past you, head down. This year, it's a little different, and he's confident, and you're seeing the same maturation that you saw from Hassani grab it in terms of just personality, and it's coming out on the court.
There's no shame in being mentioned second to Mike Kotsar, who's the best player on this team, that still has tournament aspirations, by the way. Again, we're going to get into the net. We're going to get into the bracketology, but for South Carolina, all they can do is win these last 4 games and then win as many games as possible in the SEC tournament. Winning last night, that's part of winning the next 4 games. Now they have just 3 games to win, and for everyone that said Carolina can't go on a 4-game winning streak, now, Carolina fans, all your team has to do is go on a 3-game winning streak. Just win at Alabama, win against Mississippi State at home, and win at Vanderbilt. Mike's the best player on the team, so there's no shame, like I said, in being mentioned second next to him. But I think it's interesting that we did not start with the lead scorer for South Carolina in the game. Alonzo Frank, whom we've talked about, has had a much maligned tenure since he got moved into the starting lineup. The second game after Justin and I went out, it's still not been good defensively. It hasn't been good offensively. He's fouled too much. He did manage to foul out last night, but in 26 minutes, he was able to score 22 points, grab 4 rebounds, added 3 blocks to that. But you had an interesting box plus minus number for me that maybe makes sense why the first thing that you or I think about after this game is not Alonzo Frank's career-high 22 points.
No, he was plus 3 on the night. Mike Kotsar was plus 11.
So
think about him.
We can't call it empty stats because it's great for
No.
Alonzo to get it going.
They don't win without him. But he still does some things that are good, some things that are bad, but he was aggressive, and that's what you need from Alonzo. If he can give you 22 points, not night in and night out, because that's during Kusnar and AJ Lawson aren't even doing that for you.
Mm-hmm.
But if he can give you 12, 15 on a night in and night out basis, you're willing to put up with some of the stuff on the defensive side of the ball. And you saw that tonight, and he still fouls a little too much, fouled out, but gave you exactly what you need. You do not win that basketball game without Alonzo Frank.
8 of 10 from the field. He's a guy that for, the first half, maybe not quite first half, early part of the season, he led the team in offensive efficiency. We know he can be a good offensive player. He made the most of just about all of his post touches last night, which is fantastic. And the other thing that you like to see, and this is a trend for the entire team and goes hand in hand with something that Frank Martin has complained about and the fan base has bemoaned. South Carolina got to the free throw line 37 times last night, which was tremendous. Now, they missed a lot of them, But if you're going to shoot 62%, as you said, Colin Taylor, noted math guy, it's better if you're making 62% of 37 free throws as opposed to 62% of 17 free throws. So key for Carolina to get to the line as many times as they did last night. Frank got there 9 times. I imagine that's a season high for him. I'm going to pull up his game log as I say that because, again, like we're 12 hours away from this thing, so I've barely had time to peruse the box score and internalize some of these numbers. But the aggression was phenomenal. I'm not saying it's necessarily started with Alonzo, but that was a great representation that South Carolina, just as a team, was attacking and physical and aggressive in a way that they haven't been all season. Shot 10 free throws against Cleveland. That was a season high. 5 of 10 from the line against Cleveland. Oh, no, sorry, that's from the field. His free throws, that was the most free throw attempts he had this year by a lot.
Yeah. He had some and ones, too,
mm-hmm.
that he didn't finish, but when he's getting buckets and drawing fouls, that's a good day for Alonzo Frank.
Boom. Good job, Alonzo. Way to finally have a good game. And you're right, Carolina needed every single one of those points because it was tied at the end of regulation.
Was it?
It was. That's how that works.
It all blurs together, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That's how overtime
You said
works.
that, and I paused for a second. I was like,
wait, was it?
Yeah. That's how that works.
We're at the point in the year where I seriously have to start, when I start writing, I go, all right, who do they just play?
Right.
Because they've played so many games, it's crossover season. So
I know.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, 15 SEC games in the bag. And
9-6.
Huh?
9-6.
9-6.
Guaranteed not to play in one of the first. You're guaranteed to buy.
That's
by the way.
Excellent. That's huge for Carolina.
Yeah.
And 17-11 overall. 3 games away from that vaunted 20. Keyshawn Bryant, second straight double-double. Last game, he had his first double-double of the season. Last night, he had his second double-double of the season. 16 and 10. Did it a little bit more efficiently than the last game. He shot 6 of 14 from the field, which is better than 5 of 14 from the field. He made 4 of his 5 free throws instead of 5 of his 9. Same 10 rebounds, added a couple of dimes. 3, in fact, 2 steals, a block, an absolute monster dunk again.
Oh.
Phenomenal. 2 straight games.
Biggest thing, though? No turnovers.
No turnovers.
No turnovers.
Not a single one, which, I mean, he shouldn't turn the ball over that much.
Yeah.
He's not
handling
the primary
the ball,
playmaker, but that's only the 3rd time this year that he hasn't turned the ball over. Fourth time this year he hasn't turned the ball over, which has been, I mean, I don't know if that's been like his one Achilles heel, but boy, oh boy, does that line look a lot better when it doesn't have a turnover on it. And as a team, Carolina just 10 turnovers in 2 halves. I almost said 4 quarters. In 2 halves and an overtime period, which is very strong.
Only 2 turnovers in the second half and 1 turnover in overtime. So 7 of those turnovers, if I'm doing my math correctly, came in the first half.
That math checks out to me. Keyshawn, has he turned a corner now?
You would hope. I think he's playing. I mean, he's obviously playing more confident. It kind of helps that he got to go up against 2 of the worst defensive teams in the league in LSU and Georgia. But
sometimes that's what you need to get your confidence
but sometimes
back.
you just need to go up against teams that aren't great defensively, and it helps. So, yeah, I think that he's kind of got his legs under him. He's playing more efficiently. He's knocking down shots. He's making smart basketball plays, and you need that. You got good minutes from Jalen McCreary, which you needed, which is only part of the equation to fill the Mania void. But you need Keyshawn Bryant to keep doing that. That way you can tread water in the hopes that maybe Justin Mania can come back this season.
All 3 of those guys we just talked about, Mike, Alonzo, Keyshawn, 0 for 0 combined from three-point land. South Carolina, not a good three-point shooting night, other than giving up a lot of points defensively, which is like, and we're going to talk about it. When Anthony Edwards scores 36, shoots 11 of 22.
It's going to happen.
That's going to happen. That's the guy that's going to be a number 1 overall pick. I don't know if he'll be a number 1 overall pick in most years, but he's still a really good basketball player regardless.
He's a lottery pick most years.
He's a lottery pick at least. Yeah, he's definitely like top 14 just about every year. But point is, other than some of those defensive numbers, which aren't going to look good for South Carolina, and we are going to get into that a little bit later in the podcast, the only number that stands out as truly bad is the three-point shooting. Carolina was just 3 of 16, and we're about to talk about the only 2 guys that made it 3. A.J. Lawson, who played 36 minutes, scored just 10 points, 2 of 9, not great. 4 of 10 from the free throw line, bad.
3 turnovers.
2 of 7 of 3, not good. 3 turnovers. He did have 6 rebounds. Again, I really like to see A.J. be aggressive on the boards, and he was again last night. 4 assists. So his assist-to-turnover ratio was a little bit over +1, so that's nice.
Good for A.J.
He did foul out. He did hit a huge 3 towards the end of regulation.
Maybe the biggest shot of the game.
Yeah.
Shot, not free throws, but shot. That's
so,
how Keyshawn's put back.
Not a good game for AJ, I think it's fair to say. But also,
He stepped up when you needed him.
Exactly. And we've talked about this a couple times this year, especially early on when he got benched, and I said, you just have to have him on the floor. Yeah. And this isn't the first time it's happened where he wasn't. Again, I'm with you where all the games are running together in my head. But
Tennessee.
Yeah. Was that last week? Last
2 weeks
Saturday?
Ago.
Or last
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago in the midweek?
No, 2 Saturdays ago.
2 Saturdays ago, right. Not having a good game, but he's able to step up and hit a big shot down the stretch when you need him. That's what he's there to do. So, not a good game, but there's only so much you can say about it. Like, maybe they would have won it handily in regulation if AJ had a decent game and shot 6 of 11 instead of 2 of 9.
Shot 4 of 10 from the free throw.
He has the opposite of that look that I mentioned.
Yeah,
that Mike has.
And he needs to be better. I'm not saying he's not, but he's a guy you want on the court because when Jermaine Couisnard went out with 2 fouls with like 17 minutes to play in the first half.
See, it felt like about 3 seconds.
Yeah, because they happened like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
it was like boom, boom, and he's out. AJ Lawson had to guard Anthony Edwards. So, and he did a pretty okay job of it. So he played some good defense.
Yeah, Edwards only had 12 points in the first half.
Yeah,
which again, that's maybe the best player in college basketball right now.
That's fine. So he did some good things defensively. You need him to be better offensively. You need to be more efficient. You need him to knock down free throws. But he gave you what you needed late, and that's. You can ask for more from your NBA guy, which rightfully so. You deserve to ask more from your NBA guy.
Mm-hmm.
But he gave you what you needed late.
Is that like the best worst game you can play?
Yeah,
with the defense that he played, given the task, with his ability to hit the shot late, and again to still be engaged. Earlier in the season, the biggest problem with AJ during his slump is if his shot wasn't falling, he wasn't doing anything else well. But the last couple games we've seen AJ's shot still isn't falling, which is still problematic because you still need his shot to fall.
Yes.
But he still did other things. Again, attacking the glass like he did, 6 rebounds, dishing dimes, which he just hasn't done much this year. He got 4 of them, and playing good defense. He seems to have matured just from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and he's able to compartmentalize some of his offensive struggles. And that was Frank's criticism of AJ and a lot of guys early in the season, that they needed their offense to be rolling to propel their defense, and I guess for some guys vice versa. But it was hard for guys to like have an okay game in one area because the negativity was affecting their entire game. And AJ now is at a point where he can have a good game and have a bad offensive game, or he can still impact the game without having a good shooting night.
Yeah. And you want that from him, and you've wanted that from him since the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the problem this year. And you want him to score more. I get it. But the fact that he played good defense, had 4 assists, still needs to turn the ball over less.
Mm-hmm.
Gives you some hope that when his shot starts to fall, you could win any game you're in because he's that good of a player.
Well, and these are the kinds of margins that when a player improves, you were never going to say his sophomore year was a waste, but if everything ends the season pretty much flat, which, I mean, is going to, even if he goes on a nice little burst here for the last 3 games, his season compared to last year is going to be pretty flat, which feels like a waste. It feels like he didn't get any better, but what he went through from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, like I said, speaks volumes. And the more that he's able to mature, the more he's able to grow, compartmentalize those things, and still find ways to impact the game even when he's not playing that well is hugely important. Because even if his shot is falling, most of the time, even if he is a lot better, more refined offensive player next year, there's still going to be games where he doesn't have it. And it's still detrimental if when you don't have it, you're just checking out of the game. Case in point, now Anthony Edwards is a different class of player than AJ Lawson. Yes. The only reason I'm making the comparison is because they shared the court last night. And the first time they played, AJ was phenomenal, impacted the game significantly. Anthony Edwards, his shot wasn't falling, and he made almost no impact on the game.
Yeah.
Now, that's a piece of Anthony Edwards' game that's going to have to come along. Now, he's good enough at everything else. He's talented enough. He's big enough. He's strong enough. He just has the raw tools that it still makes sense for him to go into the NBA, and he's probably going to be good. But just like any young player, that's going to be part of his learning curve. He's going to be experiencing that part of the learning curve in the NBA. AJ's experiencing it in his sophomore year of college, and he's going to be a better player for it going forward. Even if the rest of his game never catches up, he has now figured out, even the smaller ways to impact the game. And I think that's where Frank Martin deserves a lot of credit in terms of developing players.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that Sindarius went through it, and I hate comparing AJ to Sindarius because if you're going to compare anybody on this team to Sindarius, it's Jermaine. But Sindarius went through the same thing his sophomore year. he had a tough time adjusting to it as well, and I think he was banged up for it, but he had that sophomore slump. His offensive rating his sophomore year was not good, the lowest of his 4-year career. Percentage possessions used was the second lowest of his career. His effective field goal percentage was the lowest of his career. True shooting percentage, the lowest of his career. Good players, like I would argue maybe the best player in program history, at least with the Frank Martin era, go through slumps and go through periods of adjustment. And AJ is going through that, where you see flashes, just like you saw from Sindarius his sophomore year, and you see situations where you're like, well, he needs to grow there. So you're seeing that kind of growth from AJ, and the fact that he is defending. If you had told me January that AJ Lawson would have to cover Anthony Edwards for 17 minutes of a basketball game, I would not have thought it was a good thing. I thought South Carolina would have gotten blown out.
Yeah.
But the fact that he was able to tread water, he didn't do great, he didn't do poorly, forced some misses. The fact that he was able to tread some water really speaks volumes to what he's been able to do on the defensive end.
It's going to be a common refrain, and I feel weird saying this now because we have praised his ability to develop and grow and mature over the course of the season, but we're going to say this a lot over the course of the next 3, 4, 5 weeks, however long Carolina keeps playing basketball. AJ is not pro ready.
No.
He does not need to go pro. I've said this a lot. This isn't a new development. He would benefit so much from coming back and maybe leaving after his junior year. And I hope he's leaning that direction. I hope it's not one of those situations where he, I don't know if this was exactly the case with PJ, but it seems like it was the case with PJ where he kind of made up his mind at the beginning of the season and just goes through with it just to go through with it because, I don't know. I feel like he stands to grow a lot, and Frank Martin seems to have figured out how to get out of AJ what he can get of AJ. He seems to know how to reach him.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because I think with PJ, I think he knew kind of his draft stock was at an all-time high. You come off a great tournament run. You had all these eyeballs on you when you were balling out, and then he kind of looked at the team and said, well, we got Chris Silva, who's going to be, that would have been Chris's junior year.
Mm-hmm.
Chris is going to be a junior.
You still thought you were going to have Rakeem Felter.
Yeah, but no Sindarius. He thought he was going to be the key of this team, and then teams would have to key on him more, and maybe that would have plummeted his draft stock. So I get why he leaves. If AJ comes back, the team around him is going to be really freaking good with this young core. You lose Mike Kotsar, which is a big loss, which I didn't think I would be saying at the beginning of the year. But you lose Mike Kotsar at the and you bring in 2 guys, and Patrick Iriel and Javon Benson. But you got 7th coming back. You got Mania coming back. You got Bryant coming back. AJ Lawson has the tools to be a really good player next year if he decides to come back. And who knows, honestly, what he does.
If Carolina doesn't make the tournament this year, next year has to be the year. One, because the fans are already agitating for it, fair or not. But given the talent that you're bringing back, I mean, there's going to be no excuse. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. AJ, I guess good job. Best, worst game. Way to find a way to impact the game without
people won't
playing
remember.
well.
People aren't going to remember the 7 shots you missed in the first half or whatever.
Yeah, they're going to remember that 3.
They're going to remember the corner 3 that tied the game.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Jermaine started the game with 2 fouls. I don't know why. They just, like, before they even tipped the ball, they were just like, you get 2 fouls, Jermaine.
Boom.
So you just have to sit right there. Boom. So obviously he had a reduced minute load, only played 23 minutes, didn't take a ton of shots, 3 of 7. Again, a lot of research on the fly because this is early in the morning. I imagine that's the fewest shots he's taken in quite a while. He is not, okay, so he took 6 shots against Tennessee. Before that, he took 6 shots against Arkansas. And before that, you had to go back to before he was the starting point guard to find a shot total fewer than 7. So part of that's, minutes. Part of that's other guys really had it going. Now, he made 3 of the 7. He made just 1 of his 4 threes, but he made 6 of his 8 free throws, as you mentioned. Some of those are kind of clutch down the stretch there. 3 rebounds, still 2-to-1 assist-turnover ratio, 4 assists, 2 turnovers. What was his plus-minus this game?
Kusnar was +6.
+6? Okay.
There were only 3 guys that finished with minuses. That was TJ Moss at -5, Jalen McCreary at -5, and Wilden Zivek at -2.
Jalen McCreary -5? Okay, we're going to save that and get to it because I like Jalen McCreary.
What? How many minutes did he play?
16? He played 16. Yeah.
I think that was like when Georgia was going on their runs.
Yeah, I just continue to be impressed with his. I mean, he is
backitude.
Huh?
Put backitude.
Back attitude. Oh, yeah.
Put back
yeah.
put back
Exactly.
attitude.
Exactly. Attitude and with his putbacks.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say how he's we're just going to talk about Jalen now. We'll come back to Jermaine. Jalen is such a raw player, and we talk about, bull in a china shop and all these things, and yet he seems so comfortable around the rim and shows like uncharacteristically soft touch for a player that's so wild pretty much everywhere else on the floor.
Yeah.
And obviously when you're 5 for 5 from the floor, you're doing something well. 10 points, 3 rebounds. Just 2 rebounds, had a nice assist, a steal. And that's not the first time he's had an assist like that. I think it was maybe to Mike where he gets the ball on the block
and just
he looks over his shoulder, and it's not quite a no-look pass, but he kind of wraps it around his body and just puts it on a dime. I mean, he's the playmaking instincts that he has are really impressive for a guy of his size, a guy that's this early in his playing career. And again, it's a feel for the game and a refinement that doesn't totally mirror the rest of his game, but the playmaking is beyond where it needs to be right now. And look, it's not like he's having 7 assists a game, but just the vision that he shows as a big, and from the positions on the floor where he, finds the ability to play make, and his touch around the rim just have you so excited. And then there was even one play late in the second half where Anthony Edwards is driving right kind of into Jalen. I think maybe Jermaine died on a screen or something like that, and he was able to hold him up and get a jump ball. Now, there was another time when he got absolutely driven back underneath the basket, and Edwards finished an impressive athletic layup. But I said on Tuesday, I want to see what happens when Jalen gets matched up with Edwards, and those are the only 2 possessions that I can remember off the top of my head. One of them Edwards won, one of them McCurry won. He's going to be good.
He's going to be really good. He's going to be really, really good. He's athletic. He's tall, but he doesn't give off like, when you met Chris Silva, he was like, oh, hell, that's a big dude.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't really give off that vibe, but he's strong, he's athletic, he makes a lot of just instinctive plays like you mentioned, and I mean, he knows how to use his body around the rim. And it's amazing to watch because, I mean, I thought he was going to come in and just be bull in a china shop, and he has been at times, but the amount of refinement they've been able to get out of him in such a short period of time, that's the stuff that takes a year or 2 to develop, and to get that from him now is just, it's impressive.
He's listed as an inch or 2 shorter than Chris. I don't know if Chris was listed at 6'8" or 6'9", but somewhere around there. He's only listed at 6'7". He looks longer than Chris. Is it just because he's so skinny?
Yeah, I think so.
He can definitely stand to put on some weight. And I don't think his shoulders are as big as Chris's. But I mean, he's going to be a different player than Chris anyway. But.
Yeah, Chris was just such a wiry guy that, I mean, Chris was a different breed.
He had a big old dunk in the Heat game. Was that Tuesday?
Good for Chris.
Yeah, or maybe it was Monday night. I don't remember, but still getting minutes for them. He's great. My favorite Carolina basketball player ever. Anything else you want to say about Jalen other than just good? Nice to have him back.
Yeah, need to have him back. Needed to get him back
for sure. I only played 6 minutes against
LSU.
God, I cannot even remember who Carolina played last game.
Trust me, I can barely remember who they're going to play next.
I think that's Alabama, but we'll get to that. Back to Jermaine. Tough defensive responsibility.
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards had just a monster game. What can we say about Jermaine's performance?
Needs to be better shooting the ball. Came up clutch late. Got to the foul line. Like, that was his big thing. Because against LSU, he settled for really poor shots. But he found his way under the basket, had a couple putbacks because of it. There was one where he just got a loose ball, and it was like, boop, done. And, I mean, that's what you need from him and to facilitate the offense, and they're doing a good job of that. And I thought he played a pretty okay game, especially late. They all played pretty good games late.
Right. Yeah, he had, no points in the first half, obviously, because he picked up those fouls quickly and then scored everything else. So it's just 13 points, but it's 13 points and a half.
Yeah. Had 5 points in the overtime period.
Yeah.
5 of 6 from the line.
A lot of those free throws. I was a little bit worried because and 2 assists, which is nice.
Period.
I think it must have been early in the second half because I remember seeing it and being kind of worried about it because Frank Martin has talked about, and we talked about it a lot on Tuesday, how the guards are driving, but not driving all the way to the rim. And there was one time when Jermaine picked up the ball. I don't remember if it was off a turnover, and he drives to his left and then threw up this. It was a really awkward-looking runner with his right hand, just kind of like diagonally at the rim. It didn't look very pretty, but it went in. And I was like, that went in. And for Jermaine, good job. You need to see that go down, but also get to the hole.
Get to the rim.
And he still did that. He I guess showed a little more discernment in terms of knowing that that was a good time to throw it up, but also doing enough to get to the rim enough times that he was able to shoot 8 free throws. Now, a couple of those were fouls in the open court. Like there was, I guess, like the very end of the game, he got fouled like right after the inbound pass. So that was 2 of his 6 free throws. I don't remember if that happened another time, but even still, like he was closer to what I think Frank and Carolina needs from him last game than he was against LSU.
Yeah, he shot all of his free throws after halftime. That's what you want to see. You want to see a guy, I know he didn't play that much in the first half. Jermaine is so good when he gets downhill, and he could just put the ball in his hand and just go. And you need to see that from him because in games late, especially do-or-die games late, it comes down to free throws. And it comes down to who can get to the line. And Jermaine is really, really good at drawing fouls.
And is Carolina's best free throw shooter.
Yeah. He is, I'm looking at the
like
numbers
70%, 68%?
68%, yes.
Okay.
67.8. He is 4th in the SEC in fouls drawn per 40 minutes.
I remember you giving me that stat for AJ, and I was just sitting here thinking Jermaine's has to be higher.
Yeah, Jermaine's is 6.7 fouls drawn per 40.
Wow. And AJ's is like 4, I think it was.
Not great.
Yeah. But I remember being similar to last year and like a top 25 or top 30 number maybe. But
AJ's is, and that was an SEC play. So AJ's is right at 4, 3.9.
Yeah. Wow. Almost 3 more fouls a game drawn for Jermaine than AJ.
Sindarius, his freshman year, was 6th at 5.6. So Jermaine's drawing more fouls per 40 than Sindarius did his freshman year, comparably.
There you go. That's just a comparison. Just one stat. Not going crazy here. Y'all don't need to dump water on our heads. Don't worry about it. We're fine. We'll be okay.
If anyone's going to be Sindarius, it's going to be Jermaine.
It's going to be Jermaine.
They're the same player.
Don't say that.
They're the same skill set.
Okay.
Same player style, playing style, and mentality.
They're similar basketball players.
Very similar basketball players.
Good game, Jermaine. Still need more from him.
Yeah.
It's also hard when you get 2 fouls in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That makes it tough.
When Alonzo Frank is doing what Alonzo Frank's doing, it's hard to get the ball.
Yeah. So, I mean, Carolina starters, I don't want to say it was like an uncharacteristic night, but the strength for Carolina, by and large, this year has been the bench. Now, the last couple games, it's felt a little bit short because they've had to go one deeper into the bench because Manaya's been out, and that's sort of changed the geometry of the point distribution a little bit. But starters, Mike Kotsar, 19, Alonzo Frank, 22, Keyshawn Bryant, 16, AJ Lawson, 10, Jermaine Couisnard, 13. That's like what you expect from LSU starters, not necessarily from Carolina starters. And AJ, the lowest scoring starter of all the Gamecocks, which is not good, but also that Carolina was able to win a game in overtime with AJ being your worst offensive starter.
When Lawson shoots 6 of 19 from the field and the free throw line combined, and you still win?
Yeah. I mean, you're certainly not going to argue with that. Now, it was a Georgia team they should have beaten. They were a 5.5-point favorite, so they didn't cover. Wow. That's a bummer.
Never bet on South Carolina.
Yeah, never bet on South Carolina. I think they've been doing okay against the spread. Like they were, I think coming into this game, they were like 15-10 maybe. So,
yeah.
I mean, I guess it's mostly been beneficial if you've been betting on South Carolina this year. Not so much last night. The other, I guess, noteworthy stat we talked about, just the scoring specifically. Only 1 free throw attempt from anyone on the bench. That was Jalen McCurry. He missed his only 1. The rest of the free throw attempts for the team: 3 of 4 from Kotsar, 6 of 9 from Frank,
nice.
4 of 5 from Bryant. Yeah, that is nice. 4 of 10 from Lawson, 6 of 8 from Couisnard, and then of course the 0 of 1 from McCreary. Normally, South Carolina's free throw shooting has been nobody shoots it particularly well, but 3 of 4, that's fine. 4 of 5, that's fine. 6 of 8, that's fine. Alonzo 6 of 9, not great, but still fine-ish. But the 4 of 10 really stood out. And that almost cost Carolina. And it's cost them several times already this year. And if that is what had lost Carolina the game, I'm a little bit scared for... I would have been scared for our safety.
Yeah, and I would have been scared for my mental health having to read the message board.
Yeah. Do you have to read the message boards?
I'm going to try to, just in case someone's asking a question.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah.
After a game like that, if it had not gone South Carolina's way, and it had been because they missed 14 free throws, maybe it would have been advantageous for your health to just stay away.
After losses, I usually try to let them vent and give them a day.
Yeah. Well, if people want to talk to you, they'll typically at you. At least that's my experience.
At me.
Yeah, so you get a little notification. You don't have to scroll through the whole thing the whole time. I still do it sometimes anyway for fun, but definitely not after a loss. But the free throw shooting, it's bad. 23 of 37, bad. But
62% of 37 is better than 62% of 10.
Well, yeah. So getting to the free throw line, that's a huge part of the equation. But also, like, do you feel any better because that was mostly AJ's fault?
A little bit, yeah. The fact that you got 12 of 17 from Jermaine and Alonzo is pretty solid. And then I'm trying to think. So AJ contributed 6 of the 14 misses.
Mm-hmm.
You can live with that.
Yeah.
It's not great, and you need to be better.
Yeah.
But
And the sad thing is, I mean, AJ's got to get better from the free throw line, but it's not just AJ. Like, it's very likely that against Alabama, AJ goes like 7 of 8, and then I don't know, Keyshawn goes 1 of 6 or something like that. Like,
just
yeah,
like always,
it's going to be
streaky.
everybody. It's almost not even worth talking about anymore because it's just not going to get better, and there's nothing else to say about it. But it sticks out so much,
Yeah.
especially late in games, which is, I think, why Carolina made such a concerted effort to make sure the ball was in Jermaine's hands in those last couple possessions when Georgia was trying to foul to get back in it.
Yes.
To the bench we go. Most minutes off the bench. 5th most minutes on the team. Played more minutes than Jermaine Couisnard. Jair Bolden with an impressive goose egg on 0 of 5 shooting, 0 of 3 from 3. He did have 4 rebounds and an assist.
No turnovers.
Didn't turn the ball over. Yeah. Because, again, not a lot of turnovers for Carolina. Just 10 for the game, which is really impressive when you play 45 minutes of basketball.
What you want to see.
And high-octane basketball, I might add. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what the pace was for the game last night compared to average, but it felt above average, and that's usually when... I mean, neither team turned the ball over a lot. You feel like in those kinds of games that end up being a track meet...
It's wild, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you end up with, like, one team has, like, 22 turnovers and the other one had 18. But Georgia, just 14 turnovers. South Carolina, just 10. So, not bad at all from either team. But Jair really just didn't have it. And I'm a little bit... I mean, not nervous because he is who he is, and he hasn't overly changed this year, but I was thinking he was going to be more of a consistent, like, 6 to 8 point scorer off the bench, but it seems like the role that he's filling for this team now is more of, like, I'm the heat check guy, and sometimes I'm going to have 0, and sometimes I'm going to have 13.
Yeah. It's accurate.
It's probably not great.
No, you need more from him. I think Frank Martin would say that. But he took good shots, I thought. He just didn't knock them down. And he took 3 threes and...
Didn't knock him down. But you want him shooting, right?
Because he is the kind of guy that can go off, and he hit a ton of those against LSU where it was just contested, and
right.
when he does that,
20 feet,
yeah, that's what you want from him.
If I told you that you could wave your magic wand over the basketball team and Jair would score exactly 7 points every game, no more, no less, or he would score 13 every other game and 0 every other game, which one do you think is a better option for this team right now?
From an entertainment standpoint, I like the 13 and 0.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, you live with that. I think you would take that because some of the games you just need someone to go off.
Mm-hmm.
Like that A&M game, they needed him to go off. And would you take 7 points every game? Sure. But if you have the ability to go for 15, I think South Carolina would take that. I'm
kind of with you. It feels like the games that Carolina's lost, like Jair scoring 7 versus 0, hasn't really been the difference.
No.
But the difference that Carolina has, the difference in the games they've lost is like maybe the difference is some guy giving you 15 off the bench. So I'm kind of with you. So maybe not the worst thing in the world that's kind of the space that he is occupying right now for Carolina. And if he is going to go every other game, good game against LSU, nothing against Georgia, good game upcoming against Alabama. You know,
You're going to need it.
They're going to need it because, wow, 94-90, I think that's going to be like the score after the first half against Alabama, maybe.
God.
We'll talk about that. A couple more guys to get to from the bench. TJ Moss, 21 minutes, 1 of 6, 0 of 2 from 3. Rebound. He did have 4 assists, no turnovers, a steal. But I feel bad. Like, this is not a personal vendetta. Never met the guy. Don't know anything about him. Sure, he's a fine dude. I just don't like watching him play basketball ever. Is that fair? Am I being too hard on him?
No, I think fair.
He's the least impactful player that regularly plays for South Carolina.
And he makes such a good play, and then makes a boneheaded play, and then makes such a good, like, he's just so, his good plays are good. They're not like, whoa, like TJ Moss just made this phenomenal play. And then his bad plays are like, woof, you know? So he needs more consistency. I'll be interested to see how he develops, but TJ Moss needs to make less bad plays.
Yeah, and wasn't he like -3 or something?
He was -5.
-5.
-5 for the game.
Yeah, in 21 minutes. I guess that's not bad, but Carolina won by 4, so.
He is currently, for the season, positive.
Not positive for the season?
He is, for the season, -19.
Okay. All right. So that kind of bears out what we've seen.
His last positive game was +5 against Georgia in Athens. He was -6 after that, -10, -5, -5.
Boy. All right. So there you go. But 21 minutes of it, for those of you that enjoy watching that. 6 combined minutes from Trey Hannibal and Wilden Zvek. 2 combined points. An assist. A turnover. We talked about Jermaine maybe hitting the freshman wall. I think he had a fine game, like we talked about earlier. Not tremendous, so maybe still hitting a little bit of the freshman wall, but not hitting it as hard as Trey maybe. And obviously Trey just not getting as much opportunity as Jermaine, so it's hard to say, but just 4 minutes after not a great game against LSU.
There were folks that were saying he was sick. I think they said they had strep on our message board. I wasn't listening to the broadcast, and I didn't listen to the radio. So it was there, but I think they said he had strep.
Okay.
So that was kind of...
That makes me feel a little bit better.
And with Levesque, that was such a bad matchup. That Georgia team is such a bad matchup for him because they go so small and they're so damn quick that it's hard for that kind of guy to match up with that.
Yeah, and I still like Wildens. I'm not worried about him.
No.
You're right. He's more of a matchup specific guy. It kind of seemed quick because against LSU, Wildens played probably 15, 16 minutes, and Jalen only played State. 4 or 5.
Yeah, same with Mississippi State.
Yeah, it's kind of who do you want either playing 4 or even like small ball 5 in some cases for Carolina. So I don't know if he'll factor in much more to the Alabama game for similar reasons, but still like what he brings when Carolina has those kinds of matchups. My roommate was at the game and he texted me midway through the first half and was like, "Is Wilden sick? Is he out or something?" I was like, "I haven't heard that he is. Apparently, I wouldn't know because I didn't know that Trey Hannibal was sick, so I don't exactly know." And then he did come in for a couple minutes, made a bucket, big emphatic dunk. If that's going to be your only field goal of the game, nice job.
Take it.
Let's 36, 7, 4 steals, but 6 turnovers. Very efficient shooting, and Anthony Edwards played 44 of a possible 45 minutes. Was it cool watching him in person? Did you feel like you were watching someone that's going to ball out in the NBA for a long time, or not as much?
I mean, I felt like I was watching a guy that was going to go in the lottery. Do I know how? I think he'll be a better NBA player than I think he will be a college player.
Okay.
This game.
Was it similar then to watching Ben Simmons when LSU came to Carolina a couple years ago? Okay.
Yeah. You know what this game was for him?
What?
This was his Sindarius game, the Alabama game.
Oh yeah.
Where Sindarius just went off. He got to the free throw
40
line.
and 15 or something and shot 25 free throws.
44 points, 21 rebounds.
21 rebounds?
And 33. I'm looking at it right now.
Okay. 33 free throw attempts?
I think 33. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
He played 56 minutes.
Oh,
in a 4 overtime game.
Maybe that was the difference in him burning out in that Gonzaga game. Maybe he wasn't sick. Maybe he was like, "Oh, the 4th overtime's catching up."
9 for 25 from the field, 25 of 33 from the free throw line, 10 defensive rebounds, 10 offensive rebounds, 11 defensive rebounds, 2 assists, 6 turnovers, 2 steals, 4 fouls.
Wow.
That was, and Anthony Edwards, you know what he did? 36 points. 11 of 22 from the free throw line, or from the field, 4-11 from 3, so he had more threes, 10 of 12 from the free throw line, 7 combined rebounds, 4 assists, 4 fouls, 6 turnovers, 4 steals. Plus minus of
0.
Goose egg.
Wow.
0.
Good job, Carolina. That's how you contain a superstar. They held him to just 36, 7, 4, and 4.
But a plus minus is 0.
Yeah. I guess all that matters at the end of the day is 94 to 90 for Carolina. So there are probably a lot more things to talk about in this game, I guess, just because it was wild. Was there anything else that you wanted to get to before we talk a little Bama?
No, I think that was a good win. You needed it. Just got to keep winning.
Had to have it.
You just got to keep winning.
Yeah. Now, this can go one of two ways. Either I can be like, all right, let's rally around this win. We definitely could have lost that game. Let's play better, blah, blah, blah. Just like in the locker room. It could be like a rallying cry. It could be like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired now. I can't play any more basketball again ever. Now, it's just one overtime period. It's not 4, but the emotional ups and downs of that game. I don't know how many lead changes there were, but I'm guessing probably about 85 lead changes over the course of the game. That's what it felt like. But great win for Carolina. They really needed it. And there were several times when they could have lost it, and they didn't.
17 lead changes.
17. That was actually closer to 85 than I thought that was going to be.
South Carolina led for 17 minutes and 56 seconds. Georgia led for 17 minutes and 28 seconds. So we're talking about a difference of 30 seconds.
And then they were tied for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
9 minutes and 10 seconds of tied time.
Man, a well-fought game. Very different than the first time these two teams met.
Yeah.
And for everyone in attendance, you got free basketball, and it was very entertaining.
And free Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Anthony
Edwards
right. Gave you free Chick-fil-A.
That's right. Well, and that was another one where I didn't even write the text out, so I can't take credit for like jinxing it. I guess the announcers did it for the Carolina fans because he was sitting there at the free throw line, and it popped up the little thing. It was like, free throws today, 10 of 10 on the season, 78%. And whoever was calling the game, I had the volume down for most of it, but whoever was calling the game was like, yeah, this is the last guy you want to put on the line for South Carolina. And I thought, I don't know, man. He's 10 of 10, and if he's only a 78% free throw shooter, statistically,
you regressed to the mean at some point.
Yeah, he's going to miss one of these at least, and then he clanked both of them. I was like, nailed it.
Good work.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I can take credit for a jinx that happened just in my head, but I thought that was really funny. And free Chick-fil-A and entertaining basketball. So anyway, South Carolina, Georgia in the books. Next up, Alabama, primetime, 8:30 on Saturday.
Dun, 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 dun.
You excited? Do you like going to Tuscaloosa?
No comment.
No? I've been one time, and it was for a concert, and the concert was phenomenal. So that's my only experience, and I liked it.
It's not on my top power rankings of SEC schools.
It's not in Frank's either. Frank's not won there.
Never won there. One of two places they've never won.
There, and the other one makes sense.
Rupp.
Yeah. It's okay if you don't win there.
I like the barbecue there. There's a really good barbecue place called Archibald's.
In Tuscaloosa?
In Tuscaloosa.
Good. I hope you're not traveling with Chris Gillespie.
No.
Good.
He gave me so much crap.
For mentioning
it?
That's funny.
It's like, do I get a chance to defend myself? I was like, how dare you come at me?
Yeah, well, when y'all do, we're seriously going to do that. We're going to make that happen right here on the Gamecock Central Podcast Network. We're going to have a Tales from the Road. We're going to bring Chris Gillespie in. We'll do it in the off season, so we have some off season basketball content, and y'all can recap like some of your favorite places and things that you've done on road trips this year. And we will let him tell his side of the story, where the line wrapped around the building somehow said to him,
"It was close."
I don't even know him, and I can like see that exchange happening, and it's hysterical.
It's close. I'm like, okay,
all right, PB&J it is, and Sun Chips or whatever. So Carolina's going to Tuscaloosa. Alabama, according to ESPN's BPI, has a 72% chance to win this game. I imagine they'll be a slight favorite.
Yeah, Kim Home gives them a 70% chance.
2.5 point favorite ish.
This says 82 to 76.
Oh, so 6 point favorite.
6 points.
Wow. So even
projected
more of a dog than Carolina was against Mississippi State. Now Alabama lost to Mississippi State Tuesday night, the night before Carolina played Georgia. So they are now 7-8. They're 15-13, and their fucking net rating is still like 40.
Yeah, 39. Moved up.
15-13. What am I missing here?
2 games behind South Carolina in the SEC. But
overall and conference record. But what am I missing here?
They're good on offense. They're good on efficiency. They're top 32 in offensive efficiency.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Alabama, this game should be entertaining.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of points scored. South Carolina, here are the games that they have either scored 90 or more or had 90 or more scored on them. They scored 90 against Cleveland. Exactly 90. Scroll. They scored 90 against Vanderbilt. Scroll. Georgia scored 90. Carolina scored 94. Just last night, in fact, if you are listening to this on Wednesday night. Here are the games in which Alabama has either scored 90 or had 90 scored on them. Rhode Island beat them 93-79. Iowa State beat them 104-89. They beat Samford 105-87. They beat Belmont 92-72. They beat Richmond 90-78. They lost to Florida 104-98. That's both teams over 90. They beat Mississippi State 90-69.
Nice.
It was nice. They lost to LSU 90-76. They beat Georgia 105-102.
In overtime?
In overtime, yeah, we mentioned that one last week. So that's also both teams in the 90-plus. They lost to Auburn 95-91. That's also both teams over 90. And then they beat Ole Miss 103-78.
But they took like 400 threes in that game, if I remember correctly.
But, I mean, that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, they took 30 threes in that game.
Did they make 16 of them?
13.
13, wow. So Carolina's a better three-point shooting team than Alabama. Confirmed. Carolina went 16-30 that one time. But point is,
Yeah, don't remember the rest of the season.
yeah. Forget the rest of that.
Actually a pretty good 3-point shooting team in SEC play.
Yeah, fourth, I think. I read that from you on Gamecock Central going into the Georgia game. I think you said they were fourth in the SEC.
They are currently still fourth.
Cool,
33.2.
Despite shooting 3 of 17 last night.
Yeah, 3 of forever.
So a lot of points are going to be scored. Kira Lewis can score. He can get buckets. He also dishes dimes.
John Petty's out though. He got hurt against Mississippi State with an elbow injury. It's huge,
big for Carolina
because that was their wing. That was the guy that was probably
frees up whom?
Keyshawn probably.
Keyshawn? I didn't know if that was someone that they would put Jermaine on and let AJ take Kira.
Jermaine's probably going to take Kira.
Jermaine's going to take Kira. By the way, you ever watch a show called Death Note?
No.
Okay, never mind then.
Good talk.
Good talk. Jermaine's going to take Kira. I guess that frees Keyshawn up to have another double-double, and hopefully he does it slightly more efficiently this game as well. 5 of 14, then 6 of 14. That means this game is going to be 7 of 14, and he's going to have another 15 and 10. But you have to expect, even still, a lot of points to be scored in this game. Alabama is, do you know, well, I mean, you probably have it right in front of you. They're scoring 83 points a game, which makes sense because I just read off those ridiculous scores to you. But the good news is they're also giving up about 80 points a game. They're one of the worst teams in the country in that respect.
They are 32nd in offensive efficiency, adjusted offensive efficiency, giving up or scoring 111.2 points per 100 possessions, which is pretty good. Defensively, they're 95th, but I think that's because in large part to their non-conference
because
schedule.
In SEC play, they've given
in
up
SEC play, they're allowing 103.4 points per 100 possessions.
No,
So-
I guess was that about what LSU was giving up?
LSU was worse.
LSU was worse? Okay. So
But there's going to be a lot of open looks for South Carolina, is
Right.
what we're saying.
and you got to knock them down.
Gotta knock them down.
I don't know. I still feel weird about the LSU game because they scored 80 points, and then I don't remember what they finished shooting for the game, but it was only like 38%. So they needed to take more of those open looks, but they still got to 80 points.
Yeah.
But if you're a Carolina fan, you're a little bit terrified that you're going to have to score 90 in this game again.
You could do it. It's not great, but you can do it.
But it's on the road, and you just played a team that was that bad or worse than that defensively, and you weren't able to do it. Now, again, it's just a matter of knocking down open looks.
Georgia and Alabama are both comparable defensively, if I'm remembering correctly.
And one's at home, one's away.
Yeah. So Georgia's actually giving up more points per 100 than Alabama. In
Okay,
SEC
so this
play.
is the best defensive team that South Carolina is going to have seen in the last 3 games.
Yes.
And they score 83 points a game. Now, they don't have Anthony Edwards. I guess.
And I think it's a hard matchup. If Petty was healthy, this would be an even worse matchup. But they've shown the ability to take away one guard. And they've shown the ability when they have 2, it's different. But
And then if you rely on your big man, good luck.
yeah.
Because goats are.
Yeah. So they're going to probably play Jaden Shackelford over. They're going to have to piece it together. James Bolden's probably going to have to play and start, and Shackelford's going to have to start. So,
And they're also a team that's more comfortable going into their bench. They've got 9 guys that are averaging at least double-digit minutes and have played at least 24 games this season.
yeah.
So a little more similar to South Carolina than, say, LSU.
Although their bench minutes aren't great, only 30% of their minutes come from the bench. So read into that what you will. But Jaden Shackelford, who's probably going to get the start over in Petty's place, 14 points, almost 15 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists, shooting 36% from 3.
Yeah, one of their better three-point shooters. So I guess that gives you a little bit of pause.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, Carolina just has to win the game. Doesn't matter what the matchup is. Doesn't matter who they're playing. Doesn't matter who's in, who's out. This game feels way more losable than home Mississippi State.
Yeah,
because Alabama is still, remarkably, they are 15-13. And they're, what are they, last 4 in, next 4 out?
Let's find out.
I was thinking, watching that Mississippi State-Alabama game on Tuesday, that was, kind of whoever lost that, their season would be not over, and clearly not for Alabama because they still have a high enough net that that they're hanging around despite being 15-13. But when Mississippi State won, it's like, cool. Well, now maybe Alabama. The last couple games don't mean as much, but they mean just as much because I didn't realize how high they were in the net at the time, which is just ridiculous. They still have a lot to play for, unfortunately, for Carolina. They're still hanging on and maybe just as desperate as South Carolina, which is scary.
Yeah. Ooh. So, I'm trying to think. The seed list right now, South Carolina is still in the next 4 out. And Alabama, I do not see on here. But they're the next 4 out. They're the first team in the next 4 out. So they're the 5th team left out of the tournament.
Okay. So they're climbing.
They're in a... Yeah.
Despite dropping in the net, I'm not going to jump too far ahead. That's a little teaser.
Stupid freaking nets.
Yeah, okay. So, but can we explore why Alabama's 40 in the net right now?
They don't have a bad loss. No bad loss. And outside of Penn, and they're really good in efficiency for the season.
They beat LSU.
Beat LSU, good win.
Their next best win is
Richmond, Mississippi State, Auburn. They have some good wins.
Oh yeah, they did beat Auburn early in the season.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a couple good wins.
But
15-13, man. And they're look, that's great news for Carolina because this is an opportunity for a quad 1 win. So
yeah, you get a quad 1 win. That's
shouldn't,
great.
I mean, Carolina fans should not gripe too much about that, but it's just ridiculous because, well, the net ranking is just stupid. Because last night Carolina beat Georgia, and Carolina dropped a spot in the net, and Georgia rose a spot in the net.
Yeah.
So as much as Frank Martin complained about South Carolina and Tennessee each rising 2 spots after Carolina beat the Vols, and it's like, okay, well, I guess a win is the same value as a loss. Now what the net is telling everybody is that a loss is more valuable than a win.
Sometimes you could move up with the loss.
Moving up with a loss is not a problem. If Georgia had moved up 1 and Carolina had moved up 5 or 6, it's like, cool.
Fine. But no.
But for the teams moving opposite, like, how does that even happen? I understand efficiency numbers, but Carolina was dinged for not having a high defensive efficiency because Georgia scored 90, but Georgia allowed 94 points. That's why they lost the game. So wasn't their defensive efficiency even worse?
Yeah. South Carolina had a net efficiency of plus 4.7. So per 100 possessions.
So does that mean that Georgia had a net efficiency of minus 4.7?
Yeah.
So it's not the efficiency.
But Georgia did it on the road. It makes your head hurt, but Georgia did it on the road, so it weighs a little bit more. Just let that sit. Yeah. It's stupid.
Did Frank Martin say anything? I guess he wouldn't have known immediately after the game last night. When's the next time you get to talk to him?
After the game. Saturday.
Not until after the game Saturday?
Yeah. We get him on his call-in show. You can call in.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's probably tonight. It's Thursday. I should know those things because it's on my station.
Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Carolina calls.
There you go. Thanks for the plug. 107.5 The Game. Yeah, someone needs to ask him about that. Not because he will have the answer, but just because I want to see him get riled up about it. But that... How much does the tournament selection committee actually factor in the net?
It's like the number 1 metric.
Yeah, but does that mean it's worth like 40% of the value or like 70% of the value?
I think it's a tiebreaker for like you look at a resume and then look at strength of schedule and all this, and the net's just one of probably 3 or 4 things they use.
Well, again, for Carolina, maybe this stuff balances out. When you look at it like in the moment, blow by blow, week by week, it is and should be extremely frustrating because of instances like this. But you also have a team that's 15-13 that maybe shouldn't be as valuable a win possibly in the net as Alabama would be on Saturday. But Carolina could reap the benefits of that. Even just playing the game will probably help them because they're 24, 25 spots higher. What does this game look like to you, this Alabama game?
High scoring, kind of really back and forth. It's going to be tough. Alabama's a good team.
Do you feel better about at Alabama or home against Mississippi State?
With Petty out, Petty more than likely out, there hasn't been a full ruling yet. I feel better about this Alabama game, but...
That's good, because I feel better about the Mississippi State game. So if you feel good about the Alabama game and I feel good about the Mississippi State game, then everyone listening right now just needs to worry on our behalf about the Vanderbilt game, and all the worries will be covered.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good job. Teamwork makes the dream work. When will we hear an official word about Petty, do you think? Or do you think they'll keep that under wraps until the game starts?
More than likely, they'll probably keep it under wraps before.
All right, so for Carolina, you're preparing as if he's going to play. You're preparing as if you have to play a team that scored 100 points twice in the last month, right? Was that Georgia game in February, actually, or was that the end of January? I don't know. They scored 105 against Georgia. They scored 103 against Ole Miss. Carolina, still a very, very good team in terms of defensive efficiency. Now, that's taken a hit the last couple games because they've given up a lot of points.
But they're still the best one in the conference.
Yeah, I was going to say, according to your updated metrics on GamecockCentral.com yesterday, they were still number one despite the Mississippi State game, despite the LSU game. I don't know how the Georgia game will adversely affect that, but it's not going to drop them below like 2 or 3. So
they're still number one.
They're still number one.
96 points per 100.
So they were just up by like a ton.
It's insane how good they are.
Fantastic. So
the next closest team is Kentucky at 98.7, so a full 2 points.
So that gives you a lot of hope. So don't give up 290 points against Alabama, and you'll probably still keep that. Obviously, being number one in defensive efficiency doesn't guarantee you a spot in the tournament or anything like that.
As we've seen.
But unless it's that one killer matchup that South Carolina struggled with all year, where you have two downhill kinds of guards, or a downhill guard and a downhill wing player, it generally bodes pretty well for Carolina. So with that, who is the player of the game if Carolina wins? Jermaine. So much of Carolina's success relies on the backcourt because you know what you're getting from Mike, and it's what can you get from AJ and Jermaine, and then everyone else just kind of fills in.
Yeah.
You're either getting 15 from Keyshawn or you're getting 15 from Jair. You're getting like 6 to 8 from Jalen. You'll usually get like 4 to 6 from Trey. Alonzo will sometimes give you 2 and sometimes give you 22. A lot of variance there, but by and large, it's like those two guys, and what are you going to get from them? And lately, that's not been a lot. It was enough for Carolina to beat Georgia. It wasn't enough for them to beat Mississippi State or LSU. What's the worst game they can have in Carolina still beat Alabama?
They could be really good defensively. I mean, you could shoot 36 or 7% and still play really good defense and hold Alabama to 75 points and still win. I feel like that's doable because you play so fast that you're just going to get a ton of possessions.
Mm-hmm. And get extra possessions. Steals, offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those games. It seems like one team will probably end up with like 12 more shots than the other team. And for Carolina, you got to make sure that that's you.
Yes. Control the pace because I think Alabama plays really fast. Yeah. Alabama is the third fastest team in the country.
The country, not just the conference. Okay.
Yeah, the country.
That makes sense why they're scoring so much and giving up so many points.
Yeah. And South Carolina is like the 19th fastest in the country. Both are 1 and 2 in adjusted tempo in the SEC. Alabama 1, South Carolina 2.
So don't blink or you'll miss the game.
Yeah, this is going to be exhausting.
Yeah, and probably not 2 hours and 40 minutes, but maybe.
Depending on who's refereeing the game.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to revisit that real quick lack. Yeah, 56 fouls in the Georgia game last night. I'm just saying, 56 fouls.
It didn't feel like it, but it was.
It felt like it at the end.
Felt like it late.
Yeah, now there's some intentional fouling going on and things like that, which inflates the numbers a little bit. But Carolina, Alabama, 8:30 on Saturday. I can't say you hope Petty's out because you want to see a good game and you don't want anyone to be hurt. But for Carolina, that gives you a lot better chance to win. That's their top rebounder. And if South Carolina is looking for ways to grab extra possessions, and that's the offensive glass, then it definitely helps you if the other team is missing their best rebounder, which is kind of crazy that he's their best rebounder, but he's averaging almost 7 a game, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. So that could be a huge X factor. Other than that,
I'm going to be very excited to watch this basketball game.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, we say this a lot. Got no idea.
No idea. It's been most of the year.
No idea.
Carolina needs to win 4 in a row. Now they need to win 3 in a row. Starts with Alabama, at Alabama. I guess we did a little bit of net rant. Did you have anything else in terms of the bracketology that you wanted to do, the early seedings?
So I'm looking. South Carolina's locked up a bye. Still has a chance for a double bye.
Oh, you were talking about SEC tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, got
SEC
it.
tournament. Right now, where they're the first team in the next 4 out. So the 5th team left out of the tournament. You have the next 4, and the South Carolina's the first one after that. You play your way. You beat Alabama, and you probably play your way into the next 4 out at some point. beat Vanderbilt, you're probably still in the next 4 out. You win a game in the tournament, you might move into a play-in game. Depending on, obviously, how things shift and move and oscillate with other bubble teams.
So you don't think 20-11 is enough? Or 20-12 would be enough?
You're going to need a lot of help if that happens.
But 21-12
does a lot, yeah.
Would you put that at over 50%? Would you say there's a 51% chance that South Carolina makes the tournament at 21-12?
Sure.
You get a bye on Wednesday. You play on Thursday. Carolina's the 6th seed right now because Mississippi State has a tiebreaker with them.
Yeah,
they're
so
the 5
Kentucky
seed?
would be the 1, Auburn the 2, Florida. Yeah, they're the 6.
Which means Carolina would play the winner of 12 and 13, presumably, unless Vanderbilt were to win a game in the tournament, like that first game in the tournament. And 12 and 13 right now is
Ole Miss and Georgia.
So you might get to see Anthony Edwards for a third time, or you might get to see Brian Tyree again. I don't know which one of those things sounds less appealing for Carolina, but I guess that's better than the alternative.
Sure.
You win one of those games and then lose the next game to Mississippi State or whomever. You feel like that is enough, 21-12?
Sure. Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so right now they're the 6, which would mean they would play. Oh, no, they would play 11 and 14.
Oh, they play 11 and 14?
Yeah, the winner of the 11-14 game.
Okay, so not Vanderbilt.
Which would be Arkansas or, Missouri or Vanderbilt.
That's good. Carolina beat Missouri by 22 last time they played. No, I mean, I guess that doesn't mean a whole lot because they also beat Georgia by 16.
And Missouri was without 2 of their best players.
Right. And that was in Columbia.
Yeah. So
I guess it was in Columbia either way, but it was in the Colonial Life Arena.
Yes. So, yeah. There's some good and some bad. You probably want to be the 5 or the 6. The 6 seed sucks, though, because you play the late game on Thursday.
But those are during the day, right? Don't they start in the afternoon?
Yeah, but the late game starts at 9 p.m.
Oh, wow. So it's not like
it's not like
the 1 and the 4 they're playing the 4. It's like the 1, the 4, the 7 and the 9 or whatever.
What?
There's a bunch of games.
Yeah. There's 4 games a day.
Yeah. But they start in the afternoon, so at 12
so they start at 1
so,
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, so the late game, not like the later.
So it's 1, 4, 7, 10 Eastern.
Yeah. Okay. So they might be playing at 10.
10 Eastern.
In which case we're podcasting not the next morning, but either the next afternoon.
I'm calling in. Yeah, let's say I'm calling in, and
Yeah.
we'll podcast. We'll do a 15-minute one for the tournament.
Well, Carolina's definitely going to be playing in the tournament. As you mentioned, they clinched at least a single bye. The seeding remains to be seen.
And clinched a non-losing record for the 6th straight year.
Nice job. And, you're talking about in-conference play. Yeah, because they clinched a non-losing record and an overall record a couple weeks ago, but clinched a non-losing record in conference play now officially.
Yeah, this is so they've clinched a non-losing. They could lose out and go 0 for 4 and still have a winning record. This guarantees a winning record now, but it's the 6th straight non-losing record. The last time it happened, I tweeted this Tuesday night or Wednesday night. The Gamecocks for the South Carolina program to have a 500 or better record was from 1966 to 1981.
As I recall, that was a pretty prolific stretch for Gamecock basketball, so a fine comparison there. But hopefully you don't have to worry about that because hopefully we're talking about Carolina being on a 4-game winning streak here soon enough. Anything else you want to get to with the Alabama game or the seeding or the net?
No, that's it. There's a lot going on. You just don't know what to think at this point.
Busy time of year, fun time of year. And if you're as overwhelmed by this as I am, then you should subscribe to Gamecock Central and follow Collyn on Twitter at Collyn Taylor with a Y, because you make it as easy to digest as anybody can. And with the constant updates in terms of the net, in terms of seeding possibilities, and just in terms of breaking down upcoming games, past games, Gamecock Central's the shiz.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. Y'all really do great work over there. And I do these podcasts with you because I like your work. You specifically, and Wes and Chris and everyone over there. I think people think I say these things just because I'm doing the podcast with you, but they don't think about, well, why do I do the podcast with you? It's because y'all are my favorite people in the business. So
respect.
At Collyn Taylor, GamecockCentral.com. Subscribe to that. And then, of course, this is free. All you have to do is rate, review, and subscribe if you want to help us out. And we do our best, obviously not as regularly as Collyn's 65 articles a day, which is just an estimate.
Rough estimate.
Yeah, rough estimate. But anyway, rate, review, subscribe to this. Carolina, Alabama on Saturday. And Collyn and I will be back next Monday because South Carolina's midweek game for the first time since SEC play started is on Tuesday. So a little bit of an early week podcast for those of you that are into such things. In the meantime, y'all enjoy the game. We'll talk to you Monday.